So, hope you're having a good one so far. Today, I would like to talk about introducing the A string. Then we're also going to recap all of the notes that we've learned so far in the Mel Bay Modern Guitar Method, Grade 1. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about how to tune the guitar to itself, and not only why it's important to be able to keep your guitar in tune, but why it's important as far as understanding the fingerboard and understanding some concepts and some ideas. So the first thing that let's do is let's talk about the A string, which is a string that we haven't talked about in the book so far. But we already know this note because we already know what our open strings are called. This is our A natural. The next natural note that we have is going to be played on the 2nd fret of the A string. This note is a B. And the last note is played with the 3rd finger. And that's a C. That's on the 3rd fret. So the notes that we have that we're adding are A, B on the 2nd fret, A string, C on the 3rd fret, A string. So in the book we have whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. Let's go over this the way that we would normally do it in class. So we're going to do whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. The way that I do it is I don't stop. So at the end of whole notes, I go straight to half notes. Same thing at the end of half notes. We're going straight to quarter notes. It just kind of gives us a little bit more rhythm practice. I'm gonna go through it fairly quickly. We're gonna do this at 1:30. 1, 2, here we go. Okay, great. So this is the first time that I'm talking about kind of this idea here. As far as our finger style is concerned, if we're playing this with our thumb, we need, especially here in the lower register, we need these lower notes to sound not bigger than the other notes that we're playing, but they need to have their own definition and their own punch. One way that we can achieve that is by rest stroking our thumb. So that means that my thumb, is falling through the string and landing on the next one. The other thing that you might notice, just to help my own string muting, is I still have my fingers set up on the strings. I don't have, my thumb isn't the only one attacking the string like that. I have everybody else set up. Everybody else is ready to go. So at this point in the book, I would say be able to do this with the thumb. You should also be able to play the same exercise with alternating fingers. So let's go ahead and do that. It's going to be the same exercise: whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. Here we go. 1, 2, here we go. nice. So just to recap that, you want to be able to play this string especially with both your thumb and your fingers. You want to be able to play melodically, and eventually we want to be able to use the notes down here. Pardon that example. We want to be able to play these as bass notes. We also want to be able to later in the on the next page that's Buffalo Gals. We want to also be able to play on this string melodically. So now let's recap the notes on the D string. This is actually another string that I would advise playing with the thumb and being able to play with the fingers for the same reason that I was talking about with the A string. Because eventually this is still a string that we're going to be playing bass notes on. It's also a string that we're going to be playing melodically on. We want to be able to do both if we're doing finger style. So we have, obviously, again, we already know this note because we know our open strings. There's our D. Second fret is going to be an E, which is the second time that we're encountering this note. And then we have our third fret, third finger again. This is our F on our D string. Open D. Second fret, E. Third fret, F. Let's go through whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. Same thing, we're going to do it twice. We're going to do it once with rest stroking thumb, and we're going to do it once with alternating fingers. Same tempo. 1, 2, uno, dos, here we go. That was not how I wanted to start that. Let's retake that. 1, 2, here we go. Cool. All right, and we'll do the same thing, alternating fingers now. 2, here we go. Very good. Thumb planted on the A string for those. That helps mute the E. And we're also using our other fingers under the note that we're playing to mute those strings. Very cool. Metronome off. Recapping the G string, the notes with open position. You obviously have, we already know this note. It's our open G. We've been playing that for a while. And we have second fret. We're adding an A natural. And in the book, these are the only 2 notes that we're talking about here, so it's really not that hard. However, I am going to use this opportunity to point out we already know another note on this string, because we know how to tune, or if we know how to tune the guitar to itself, we've already been tuning our B string. Well, just to make that connection, so our 4th fret is also a B. So we know that's an addition. So we have G, we have A, played with the 2nd finger, 2nd fret, and we also know, because we know how to tune, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more in a bit, 4th finger, 4th fret, that's going to be a B. That's cool. We have the study on the 3rd string. Let's go over that. It's kind of whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes combined, just because we only add these 2 notes. 1, 2, here we go. Very nice. Next, we're going to recap the B string. We have our open B, we already know that. The next note that we have is our 1st fret. That note is C. And the 3rd fret is a D. There's our D. Whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. 1, 2, here we go. And sometimes our fingers get in the way of each other, and I don't love making mistakes, but I don't mind leaving them in, because it's the thing that I always talk about. There's no exempt card. You know, sometimes our fingers just get in the way of the strings. It's just what happens on the guitar sometimes, you know, and it's not that you get a piece of paper one day and it says, oh, okay, now you're exempt of making any mistakes. I could retake it and I could, you know, make it clean, but I like to leave it in because of that very reason. So next we'll recap the E string. And we have our oldest friend on the guitar, the good old high E string. Just to recap it, we have open E, 1st fret F, 3rd fret G. Here we go. There we go. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about today is tuning the guitar to itself. It's obviously important for us to be playing in tune, and this obviously helps that. It also helps me to realize more of the fingerboard and show you that at this point, especially in learning the fingerboard, that we know quite a bit more than we may think that we do. So speaking about our oldest friends, the open strings, the things that we talked about on day one. Just to recap them, we have E, A, D, G, B, and our high E. That's pretty cool. So if we go over to our E, low E, and we go to our 5th fret, and then we play the next string, that's our open A string, you'll notice that those are, for better or worse, the same note. So that's good as far as being able to tune, but we actually haven't introduced the E string yet, but we already know this is an open E, and now we already know that just by knowing what our open strings are called, well, now we know this has to also be an A. So if we go up on the A string now, and we play the 5th fret of the A string, the string that we just introduced, and then we play our open D, the next string, we'll notice again that that's the same note. So something that we can deduce is another new note is D at the 5th fret. If we do the same thing on the D string, we play the 5th fret of the D string, and then we play our open next string, which we know is a G. Those should be the same note. So another note that we can add to our fingerboard is actually a G on the 5th fret. G on the 5th fret of the D string. This is the one that gets a little weird, but when we were recapping the G string, I did mention the tuning concept. Now we're at the 4th fret, the 4th fret of the G string. And then we play our open B. That should be the same note. So, again, we can deduce that B is also on the 4th fret of the G string. Now we go back to home base, 5th fret, it's 5th fret of the B string, and then we play our open E string, high E. That again should be the same note. So another extra note that we can add to our fingerboard is 5th fret E on the B string. So now let's take this and let's take a deeper look. So we're going to go back into our A string, our new string. We just figured out that obviously we have open A, we have a B on the 2nd fret, a C on the 3rd fret, and we figured out that our tuning note, D, so this is another note that we have now. So if I asked you to find where E is from this position, how would we be able to do that? Well, what do we know? We know that this, our open D, is a D. The next note we haven't quite talked about, but we know that the next note that we know is 2nd fret, D string. So even if we just counted up, well, we just found E on the A string. So that's 7th fret, A string. We have D at the 5th fret. And now we have an E at the 7th fret. By going off of things that we know again, if we know that this is an E, where does F have to be? Well, another place that we have an E is here and here, E and F, so that should be right next door. Another place that we have that is obviously our open E string, open high E string, F. F is right next door. There's no fret in between there. So we just added another note. That's F at the 8th fret of our A string. And this concept works out throughout the entire fingerboard, throughout this entire section of the fingerboard, it is a repeat in notes from over in this spot. They are the same notes. So we can figure out much more of our fingerboard right off the bat, just by knowing the notes on our strings, the natural notes. I could also ask you another thing. I could say, okay, well, if we know that this is F, back to our good friend the F, and this is a G, what note has to be in between that? Well, if we look at the alphabet, there's no letter in between those two. So we can introduce the idea of it's either going to be an F sharp, or you could talk about a G flat. We'll talk about that, sharps and flats, more in depth at a later time, but I just wanted to show you that you can actually open up much more of the fingerboard just by knowing your open strings, your natural notes, and understanding in a different way how to tune the guitar. One other thing that we can also start putting together, if we're putting the guitar together this way, we haven't introduced the E string yet, the low E string. However, we have introduced the E string, and it is the same. So if our open E, that's obviously an E. We've been talking about that for a long time. F is right next door on the 1st fret, and G is on the 3rd fret. The same thing is also true on your low E string. There's no difference, obviously, except for it's lower and bigger. This is an E. This has to be an F. This has to be a G, because it's the same. Okay, we can also put one more thing together here, kind of fun. So now that we've put the E string, the low E string in, another note that we talked about, A at the 5th fret. We know that that has to be an A because it's our tuning note. So another thing that we can also put together is if we know that our E string, our low E string, is the same as our high E string. Another note that we haven't talked about yet is A at the 5th fret on the E string. And I'm just showing you that these are there. It doesn't mean that you specifically need to worry about it too much or think about it too much, but this is one of those things that I don't specifically teach you how to play the guitar, even though I obviously I am. But one of the other big concepts, one of the big things that I'm trying to do with these is I'm trying to get us to think about the guitar and change the way that we think about the guitar. And just looking at the fingerboard and understanding where we are in a little bit deeper of a way. So I hope this lesson helps. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. That would be fine. Other than that, I hope that you are having a great day. Tomorrow for our next video, we are going to be doing a frolic revisited. The exercise from earlier that I did mention that we should be practicing every day, that we should be slowly working up the metronome. We're going to talk about that one more time, and that'll be a lot of fun. And I'll see you then. Thank you. Bye.